Very nice to meet you all. I'm happy to be invited to do this webinar for you, which is what I feel is the foundation of everything within frequency, vibration, electromagnetic therapies. And we're going to tell you a little bit about electromagnetism, the secrets, and the invisible reality you are immersed in all the time. I'm Jan Poleszynski. I run a clinic for integrated medicine for now 13 years. I started working with frequencies and microcurrents in 2008 after being 20 years in high-tech development. And finally, I just decided now I want to work with people. And I quickly understood that electromagnetism is what defines our reality. So I'm also engaged in development of protocols and systems such as Deep Cycle, as many of you maybe know. And I had a long and good relationship with Time River and now with Healy. So we're ready to go. Are you ready? Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you again. For some of you who haven't seen me before, I am Jan Poleszynski. Have been working with the frequency since 2008. And I also run a clinic for integrated medicine, and I develop programs such as Deep Cycle programs for Healy, which was previously also on Time River platform and Time River Home. Electromagnetism, frequency, and this stuff is one of my favorite themes of life, and this interest follows me both in work and in private life. So I like to share some of the things I know and learned, and I think it's a good foundation for any frequency therapy and understanding frequency for you in future. I think it's the next generation medicine, it's future medicine, and I think we can prove it through this presentation. So let's see, we're going to be talking about the secrets of electromagnetism, light, and your invisible reality. And just 2 words about invisible. I think you know, but if you think about it, we have a whole spectrum of electromagnetic waves, or let's say frequency, which we will look into a bit later. And out of this spectrum, this much of it we can see. So this means we are flooded in waves of frequency and light, but we see just a small portion. If you look at some animals and cats and dogs and others, they see different parts of the spectrum. So if you could see all of the spectrum, you would experience being floating in waves of light in thousands and thousands and thousands of colors. And the same thing goes for our ear, our hearing, because we also hear waves coming in, similar to electromagnetic waves and light waves. And out of those waves, we hear about 20 to 20,000 kilohertz. But in fact, we can produce sound from 0.1 hertz infrasound up to ultrasound and higher to many 100,000 hertz. So again, if you heard of all it, and thanks God we don't, you would be in a constant sea of sound. So I think the reason for our senses to be, let's say, limited in this physical reality is because this construction, our body, wasn't built, and our nerve system and brain wasn't built to perceive and comprehend, or let's say compute the whole spectrum. But anyway, let's see what part of a spectrum we are known to and how we can understand it. First of all, I'd like to mention a little script I made. It was called Nature is My Religion. It's possible to read it at my Facebook page. And if anybody is interested, we can make it a PDF and share it. The reason for writing it is because everything we do in science, every major new discovery we find in nature. And another thing is that if we look at what we need to do to be healthy and happy and balanced, you will see the solutions are already there. It's already in nature. So when you go out and touch the ground without shoes, you are grounded, so-called. Grounded does mean, among other things, that you get the frequencies from Earth and a small microcurrent, small current like electric current going into your body. So you're getting a sort of a natural treatment. And when you go out in the sun, you are bombarded with frequencies in the spectrum of the visual spectrum, the light spectrum, which you can see, and also a lot of other frequencies. And we are, from the genetic point of view, tailored to receive these frequencies and use them. So the sun is very important. It regulates our clock inside, and it regulates our hormones, and it provides energy, heat, and a lot of things, as you know. And when you walk in the wood or are close to water, we are automatically also charged from negative ions, negative charge, just like battery charge in the air. And this, all these things have led us to understand that we are totally connected with nature and everything around us. And what we should do in any therapy is attempt to mimic nature and do the most natural therapies possible, and of course use nature. And you will see in the later part of this presentation that since we are connected with everything all the time and we cannot do anything about it, it's not possible to be lonely because you are a part of everything. You will always get the information and energy you need from nature, and especially if you are capable of just letting it happen. Be open to the nature, be in contact with nature, be outside of nature, because nature is full of information, full of energy, and full of all the information you need for a good life. So go out every day. All right, we have some so-called scientific consensus. And I think it's useful to just look at what we know for sure, or quite sure, because we know very little for 100% sure. 4% of our physical universe is called electromagnetic, or you can say physical, because anything physical has electromagnetic properties, and I will explain later. We know that 99% of the molecules of the body are water, actually hydrogen and oxygen. So we're made of water, and our body is electromagnetic. And we also say that 99 or 96% of the universe is dark energy or dark matter. And that's because our physics and our apparatus cannot measure and understand completely what is all the energy of the universe. So we know this much. It's about 4%. This 4% is our physical existence, our body, our planets, the lights that you see me. And I think it's a good idea to focus our attention a little bit on what we know and what we can do with it. And of course, there is a paradox. When you see me, I appear solid. When you look around you, you see walls, you see computer screens, and you think it's all solid. And we talk about matter. But in fact, our own science, our physical science, tell us that 99.9999% is empty space. And that's, of course, not right. The empty space is full of energy. And we know this now. But you don't see me as a physical, hard object or body because of matter. You see this because of the energy vibrating so fast, just like frames on a film or a TV screen. So when you see 25 frames per second or 35 frames per second, your eyes and brain believe this is a moving picture, but actually it's just frame by frame. And it's a little bit similar with our physical reality. So when you see something physical, hard evidence, it's energy moving fast. And it moves so fast that you think it is hard physical. And everything in our existence has a frequency or a vibration. This is the physical. Of course, there are something behind the physical universe and the three-dimensional universe, which, let's say, implicate order. But we won't discuss this now. We will discuss what we have clearly scientific evidence for and we can use in the daily life. And all matter has a polarity and charge. It means all matter has plus and minus and attract each other if it's plus and minus, and if it's same polarity, this moves away. It also has relevance for what you're going to learn and what we're going to talk about in frequency. So I say electromagnetism defines physical reality. And this is true. Of course, if we go down to the very, very small parts of our reality, we're going into the quantum realm and looking at very, very small quanta, small portions of energy. And then we need to add quantum physics to the picture. But everything around us is electromagnetic. Everything physical is electromagnetic. And your physical reality is electromagnetic. Our 3D reality is electromagnetic. So you are a part of a big, big, big vibration. And these vibrations go both ways. And as you can see, this is the northern light from Norway, where I'm born actually. I don't live in the north, but it's beautiful. And that's just energy coming into our atmosphere and being lit up like in plasma from the sun. So this is a rare occasion where we can see some of the energy coming in, because as I told you in the beginning, a lot of it is invisible for us. So smart people like Albert Einstein, he said, well, if you look at matter, we won't find it. And there is no matter. There is only light and sound. And he also mentioned that some of these vibrations or frequencies, which we are going to talk about, they are in the spectrum we can feel, see, and touch. The others are just there, like the radio waves. When somebody calls you from a mobile phone, there's a radio wave. You can't see it. Some people can feel it because it's uncomfortable, but most people don't feel it. It's just there. Most of our reality is there, but we cannot touch and feel it. Tesla also agreed to this, that if you know the energy, frequency, and vibration, which are two sides of the same thing, you know the secrets of the universe. I think there is a little bit more to these secrets, but of course, if you know the frequency of things, you can do great things, just like we do with the Healy. So what is really electromagnetism? What is this physical universe? What is happening in our body? Well, electromagnetism is when there is a charge, like a negative charge, for example, we call an electron, moving in one direction in a conductor. So let's say this spoon is a wire, and there's going electrons this way and energy the other way, because that's how it works. Then you generate an electric field around it, and this field has a magnetic force. So if there is a current, like in your electric grid at home, in Europe it's 50 hertz, in the United States it's 60 hertz, going back and forth in this conductor, this will generate a field, a pulsing field of 50 hertz. So that's what we call pulsed electromagnetic field. But in the conductor, we call it electric, just electric flow. So when we use a device like Healy, we provide an electric flow of different frequencies, not just 50 or 60 hertz. We can actually choose from 0.1 to close to 1,000,000 hertz. And when this field, these electric currents going through the body, we also generate a pulsed electromagnetic field of the same frequency. Because electric and magnetic is always connected. And this goes for atoms, goes for molecules, for DNA, for organs, for cells, for anything. Everything has electromagnetic properties, everything has frequencies and vibrates, and everything has an electric potential and a magnetic field. So, so you can see that if you think about it, that if you generate a field that has a negative pole here, and you have some molecule in the body which has a positive pole, you will influence these molecules. So these are one of the reasons that pulsed electromagnetic fields influence the body. And you can see that Earth also has an electromagnetic field from north to south, and we are influenced by this field too. All electromagnetic fields and frequencies and waves, wireless waves such as radio waves or solar waves, are connected and influence each other, just like rings of waves in water. Let's see. So here's the spectrum, and it goes from very low frequency to very high frequency. Frequency, we understand, is increase of amplitude in a wave. So if there is a wave of light going here, the slow waves are maybe like this, and the higher the frequency, the shorter the wave. The shorter the wave, the more energy. And you can also see pictures of buildings, of baseball, a pinpoint, bacteria, etc. And all these elements, just like our body, of course, they have a so-called resonant frequency. Then that means if something inside your body, let's say your cells, vibrate at a given frequency, and you send in the same frequency, you can increase the energy of this vibration and transfer information. It's called sympathetic resonance. And this goes for anything we know. So this is the way people working with astronomy, they look at distant stars and they analyze the visual light and also radio waves, of course. And they can see what is absorbed or what is reflected. By this, they know what is the composition of the matter, because all matter, all physical things have a vibration, and they have a natural tone and that natural sympathetic resonance with frequencies. So our body can resonate, can receive frequencies in the full spectrum of everything. Some of these frequencies are good for us, and some are not so good for us. But a little bit is okay, because the body is constructed in a very good way, so it can communicate and receive energy and information on the full spectrum. But we know gamma rays, radioactive waves, and so forth, we don't need much of it. So it's just a little bit like food. You can eat a lot of some very healthy food, and you can eat a little bit of some food that is not that healthy. Yeah. So you can see the spectrum in another way, and you can see that the waves are getting shorter and shorter the higher the frequency. And the higher the frequency, the more energy. So it means if you have some resonance with the molecules in your body, in let's say the microwave area, with cell phone and so forth, the information from the cell phone radiation will be transferred to your body and the energy. And this information and energy from this type of devices are not made to heal us. They are not made to be biocompatible, to be compatible to us. So therefore, if you do a lot of it, it's a stress for the body and generates, let's say, errors in our communication system, oxidative stress, and so forth. other frequencies, they support our body's work. And we'll come back to more of this later. This includes infrared, and this includes the lower frequency microcurrents like in Healy. Yeah, and as you see, very high energy frequency in the X-ray area is called ionizing, because it can break ions. It can break charged particles in our cells and in our cell water and in our DNA. That's why we don't want to do much of it. So when you're going down into the infrared area and light spectrum, this microwaves, you don't have the effect of breaking ions and breaking DNA directly, but you have big effects on the information you provide to the body. So we still have to be careful what type of frequency we want to digest. So here is the example of what is called sympathetic resonance. And the simple thing is, I usually have an animation. Right now it's not, so it doesn't matter. But if you hit one of the tuning forks, let's say A, and it has and the tuning fork B has the exact same size and proportions, they will resonate to the same frequency. And the interesting thing is that you hit tuning fork A, and tuning fork B automatically start to sing. Same principle as the opera singer you heard about, when she can sing a tune and make a crystal glass break, because her energy and her frequency is giving energy and information via sympathetic resonance to the glass, because it can oscillate in the same frequency as her voice. And if she does it correctly and holds it long enough, it will break. This was also a principle of Royal Rife, who could kill cancer cells with his electric device almost 100 years ago now. And here again, it's an example of the resonance. We hit one tuning fork. The other tuning fork is close by, and there is a ball connected to it. And when this is a good visual presentation, so when you see the ball on the other will start to move magically. And that's because of resonance. So energy will definitely be transferred wireless and via conductors like cables. And this type of resonance influences us very much. And one of the important Earth frequencies is called Schumann resonance, from the researcher Schumann. He found out that the lightning around Earth, which is a couple of thousand lightnings per second around the world, it goes boom, 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 up and down to the atmosphere. This generates a so-called standing wave of about 7.83 hertz. This is called Schumann resonance. And then you have the harmonics, just like in the music, you have tones, and you have harmonics like ba, 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 ba. All of this is the same tone, but different frequency, of course. So all these harmonics and the bass resonance of 7.83 hertz resonates with our body. We know it resonates with our nervous system, resonates with our brain waves, alpha mode. And that means that the information embedded, or let's say modulated, and I'll explain modulation for you, in the wave, such as solar radiation and solar frequencies, are transferred to us. So this is one of the reasons people feel very influenced when there is a solar storm, or what we call geomagnetic storms, because we are connected to this Schumann resonance, such as many other natural frequencies. So it's quite common that there are things happening in the body when there are solar spikes, which influence the Schumann resonance and influence the frequencies of our body. So people sleep bad, they feel tired. We know there is many people getting a heart attack, or dramatic psychological events appearing during solar storms. We also know there was research for 200 years, and they looked at all big happenings in the world, like First World War, Second World War, and different big shifts in the world. And most of them, about 80%, happened during high solar activity. So we are totally connected to the universe around us, and the universe around us is totally connected to us. And we are all connected to everybody, because all of these frequencies, they interfere and they sing together continuously. So we talk about the quantum physics, and we talk about energy, and photons are normally a description of light. We say light consists of photons. So photon is just a quantum of energy. It's this much energy. That's the term quantum. It's a quanta. It's this much. And photons are the energy quantas, the area of energy sent out in the waves when there is a wireless transmission or a solar transmission or light transmission in general. So actually all electromagnetic transmissions is light, and all have photons because they carry energy in quantas. So when we talk about light, we normally talk about the visual spectrum in colors. In fact, as I told you in the beginning, all of the spectrum, when it's transferred as waves, are quantas of energy or photons. So all is light. And that's good to remember. So you are bathing in a sort of light all the time, but you don't always see it. But all this light influences us, and we are light beings. We can receive and send light, and we send light. I will show you. So there is a new thing, definition of future medicine called light medicine now. And when there is electric charge, when there is a charge, meaning there is a membrane between plus and minus, just like in a battery. So if I hold a battery for you here, let's see, I can put it in here. There's a plus and minus, and inside this battery, there's a membrane, so separating the plus and minus. So they don't go together like a magnet, but hold each other. That means there's a potential. They want to go together, but they cannot. So when we put the cable there, electrons start streaming from one side to another, and we call it a current. So that's electric charge. Just like the thing we have in the cell membranes, we have a charge on the inside, outside, separated by the cell membrane. And when there is electric charge, electric energy, which we have in everything, there is always changes of phases of energy. So when the energy is given off to somebody, we get a light signal. We get a photon being sent out. It lost some energy, and we send light in, and we can achieve energy, and then we can change the light. So this is a very great indicator of health. So if the cells and body has necessary amount of energy, let's say charge or light, it can work and be happy, can regulate, can repair, and control the process of the body. So it's actually a key factor of health. So the pharmaceutical way of thinking is just an old, wrong way of thinking, because how can you control the electric system of your body by putting a pill into the outlet? You cannot. You need to help the body to have a normal electromagnetic light flow, and this can be done in several ways, including healing. And when we say, we talk about the intracellular environment and the terrain. And the terrain is very much defined by what is the charge of the water in your cells and charge of the water around the cells. And one way to see the charge of water is pH, or acid-alkaline balance. pH is actually a name for potential hydrogen. So it means how much charged hydrogen is in the liquid. And this way we know if there is charge or not. So that's why if you're very acidic, it means you have low charge. And again, then you have little light. If you have little light, little charge, the body can't perform. Also, if the energy is not correct, all sorts of things can happen. You can have bacteria growing, virus growing, you can even get cancers if the cell doesn't have a charge enough to do normal metabolism. And I will tell you more about this later. So we are not victims of our DNA, we are victims of life. So, and maybe not victims because we're lucky to be alive, but if you change your environment, you change your terrain, your body and DNA will express itself healthily. Just like you plant a seed in clean soil, with good water, good atmosphere, good light, it will be a beautiful plant. And this is the same with our cells and our organs and our body. So, as I told you, there is something we don't see, and but we can visualize some of it. So humans, as we are, we actually glow. But when people talk about the aura, of course, it's true. We have an aura. Some people can see parts of the spectrum that not everybody can see, and they can see our aura. But we have some methods, just like infrared photography. You see to the right here, where you can see heat. And we have different methods. We can visualize the electric or bioelectric fields of the body. So everything in nature and every living thing has light. If you can read the light and understand the light, you also know what's going on in the body and if you're healthy or not, and so on. And I have in my clinic, I have apparatus, I can measure these things. And these I use to define how to treat people, where is the activity in the body, and what do we need to do. There's very interesting research going on right now in several institutes around the world, where they're now being able to produce more advanced bioelectric visualization methods. Meaning, if you saw me with one of these apparatus, you would see there will be different colors, different fields around my body, moving and expressing what's going on. And when you can see this properly and you can manipulate it in a good way, you can actually help the body to do its work more harmoniously and without unbalanced problems, which we call disease. So the future of medicine is going to be extremely interesting. And I like to add, of course, the most important thing is that if you are very close to nature and you do things the natural way, eat correct, drink correct, exercise, etc., you don't need much change and alterations. But modern lifestyle takes us away from nature and takes away the contact with nature to some degree. You wear shoes inside, so you're not grounded. You're connected by an electric grid, wireless, etc., bad light, bad air, so forth. And we sit too much. So therefore, we need support. And what we should do is support our natural bioelectric fields. Let's say light medicine. Yeah, and the question here is, how cool would it be if we can be able to control it? We can, to some extent, control it. And when you use Healy, you're actually influencing the light of your body. And I can prove it, and we'll do that in another session. Plants have it. Everything living have it. And of course, there was Albert Fritz Popp, professor, German, who found out that our cells, they send out light depending on how they feel. So especially in the ultraviolet region, they found it. They called it biophotons. And it's also a way to understand if there is a problem in the cell, because if it is, the cells scream by sending out more light in a specific frequency. All is electromagnetic connected. And this is correct. And or in future, we'll try to make an animation for you to visualize it more easily. But if you drop a coin in water, you will see rings spreading out in the water, correct? And if you think for a second and try to visualize it, that every DNA vibrates, makes rings, everything inside the cells vibrate, make rings, and the cell membranes vibrates and make rings, and the organ vibrates and make rings, and all this orchestra is singing in tune. It's like an orchestra is singing the same melodies in your body. Especially the more harmonic it is, the more beautiful the song it is, the more healthy you are. And this vibrations is going out and influencing everything around you. It's influencing the people around you, and it's hitting the waves of the others. So when you put a stone in water, you have rings there, and you put a stone there, you have rings there, and they meet, and they interfere, and they also start to work together. We call it interference waves. And this happens throughout the universe. And also, the universe, the Earth, and all things around us has frequency. So if you have I have this thing here, it's a EMF protection device. It actually resonates to specific frequencies that is calming for the body and reducing stress from incorrect frequency. So everything is connected, and everything influences everything. So it's really truth from the religious and spiritual perspective that you can influence your surrounding, your body, everything around us, the matter around us, by your thoughts and frequency. And it's vice versa, of course. So this is why when there's a solar storm with enormous amount of energy and frequency coming into Earth, this Earth frequency starts to adopt these frequencies, modulate them. Let me explain modulation. When you listen to a radio signal, let's say you listen to FM 102.9 megahertz, million hertz per second. You don't listen to 102.9 megahertz. You listen to the voice and music in the radio signal. So let's say that's a wave like this. That's the main carrier wave, carries the information and energy. There are small waves inside it, which is our voice, etc. And we decode it and we hear this. First, it's been decoded, of course, in the receiver, giving to the loudspeaker, sending out as pressure waves, and then we decode it in the brain, to be precise. So all electromagnetic waves, they have modulations. And remember, it remembers that it has passed something. So I have a coin here, and there's a wave coming here. This coin disappears, but it's like magic. And it hits the coin, and of course the wave is a little bit changed. And this small change is from the frequency and impact of the coin. So if you were really good at it, you would know what's all around you, because everything around you has been passing through and being influenced by the frequency around you, and you can know what it is. So this is actually a little bit like, we call it radar, when you send out signal and it's being reflected. And this signal you can then visualize and you know what is there. We do the same in something called photospectrometry, where we analyze distant stars from the observation of light. And all of these frequencies have modulations. They contain information about what they pass. So everything around us informs us, and we inform everybody and everything around us. So we have called space weather. So different happenings in space make different frequencies, different energies, and we're all influenced. That's why we are influenced by the moon and the gravity of the moon. We're influenced by the sun, but we're not just influenced by them. We're influenced by the stars and the universe around us. I used to believe that astrology was just fake. It's not fake. Maybe it's not accurate and it's old-fashioned, but the principle that we are influenced by everything around us and the stars and the constellations of the energies and frequencies they send is now verified scientifically. So you can see here that when we are close to each other, our fields are starting to connect to each other. And that's why our brain starts to mimic each other's brain once we're in the same room within milliseconds. And this is to enable us to resonate in the same frequencies. And what happens then? We can communicate verbally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and on an energetic level. That's why some people make you tired, other people make you more alert. And when you feel and you meet somebody which is a good resonator for you, which is really resonating on all levels, it's like you feel like, I know this person and this person knows me. It's like we're old friends, and you are old friends. But it's very good when you have a good resonance. That's why the term, does this resonate to you? It's a typical American expression. It's a good term, because if I say something and it makes you resonate to it, you start to vibrate to it, you can process and think about it, and you can receive the information. If I speak in a way that doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't resonate to you. Another interesting fact is you see a heart and a brain here. And we know that there is a resonance, there is information going between the heart and the brain all the time. Actually, it's very interesting to know that when there is something important happening around you, which is emotionally important for you, the heart knows first. And then it informs the brain. And then the brain does send out its signal to the body to do something about it. Because all emotions, everything you think and feel, is distributed via electric fields and currents in the body. So we actually have three main brains. So it turns out the heart is in many aspects the master, telling the brain what's going on. So when people say trust your heart, it's a good idea. And then you have the stomach, of course, which has more neurons than the brain, which also informs you. So you have the gut feeling. So you should always listen to the gut feeling, the heart and the brain. Just doing the mental work up there won't solve anything, because you have a much larger capacity to know through intuition and just by being aware that you have knowledge, deep knowledge in other brains of the body. And the Chinese knew this for several years. They call it upper dantian, medium dantian, and lower dantian. Upper brain, medium brain, lower brain. And here you see a very, a little picture about our vibration. It's very simplified. We have much more advanced field, but you see it's going out in all directions, and it also comes in all directions. Here you see a lot of fields from cell towers and mobile phones and transmissions. It's also going out in all directions and also influencing all of us. And it's proven in documents, even from the American military in 1994. They released published studies for a couple of thousand studies, where it proved that this wireless radiation would influence our brain, our heart, our cell function, etc. They even proved that they could modulate input sublingual information that you wouldn't hear in electromagnetic waves and just send it out to manipulate you. And we know that these technologies were used even back in the 60s, 68, in the American embassy in Moscow, the Russians used mobile radiation, mobile GSM signal in high intensity and pushed it into the windows of the American embassy. And these people in the American embassy, they were chronically sick or depressed or etc., and they couldn't be there for more than half a year. They have to change people all the time until they found out what was the problem. This is still being done today, and you should be aware. Not only that you should limit the use of wireless and try not to live close to a wireless radiation sender, receiver, but that when you look at television and you look at your mobile screen and social media and so forth, the potential there to influence your brain and your subconsciousness, your automatic brain, is absolutely there. And the first message, which is embedded in the sendings, is you should do this again. So make sure you see it all the time so we can influence you. And yeah, you know what happens. Some people, they sit talking in the living room, and they say, oh, I was very interested in a new mountain bike or something. And you go up to your PC, and the first thing you see is an ad for mountain bike. So you're being watched and you're being manipulated. It's up to you to keep a good inner balance so you can choose what to do, not just being manipulated. So I say you have magic powers. Yes, and you have. And the strange thing is, we know from quantum physics, we have the observer effect and many others. But the observer effect is specifically interesting, and it's been proven thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And that is in specific trials where they send light through two openings in the plate. They send this light during the night, and they look at the picture that's on the screen behind when they come in the morning. And there they see waves interfering like waves in water, like waves on the ocean. So they know it's waves. They know there is no particles, there is no matter. They don't find any matter because, as you know, what they find is that 99.9999% is empty space. And they haven't really found matter yet. So, but when they then do the same experience and observe it, this wave starts to behave like particles, what we call matter. So we know that when you think differently, you influence the matter around you. When you observe and are present and are conscious, you change the matter in your body. You change the composition of your body. So if you are in two states of emotions, one state is fear, another state is happiness. When you are in fear, a lot of things happen. Stress, fear. The DNA, we call them wind and unwind. It winds, it closes, and it limits the possibility to generate new cells and new experiences for the user or for the owner of the cells. And your detox system, like the kidneys, livers, digestive system, all take a break because you are in defensive mode. You're not building new cells very well, and you're defending yourself. You need blood to the muscles, brain and heart to fight some animal. And the opposite, if you are blissful, happy, full of joy, relaxed and good, the body repairs, DNA opens, and you can change your cells like this. This sounds like magic, but it's proven. It's a fact. And one of the facts in a very interesting book I recommend for all of you, if you like to read a little bit scientific language and physics, is this one. It's called The Physics of God. In this book, which is recently published, a very good book, they also refer to experiments and scientific studies of people with multiple personalities. And when some of them people, they change the personality, they change all the physics. Is that possible? That sounds like magic. Yeah, well, it's physics. So, for example, they had a person with the allergies, milk allergies, and high blood pressure, and so forth. And when the different person came in, multiple personality disorder, didn't have the allergies, didn't have high blood pressure, etc. That sounds, incredible. But you know what's more incredible? Some people, they have a scar here, and when they change personality, the scar is gone. Other people, they change the color of their eyes when they change the personality. So it turns out your consciousness, your mind, what is really you, the observer behind the physical body, behind the electromagnetic patterns and hologram of the body, can actually change your whole physical body. You can change how the body works, and you can change what's going to happen to you around you, because you project out your consciousness through electromagnetic waves, and probably non-electromagnetic waves, but we know electromagnetic waves for sure. And when you are sure that something's going to happen, you just know it inside your heart, it always happens. You can call it magic, but that's real magic. You can change your life by the way you think, behave, and feel and talk. So do that. Use the possibility. So we all need frequency. Without the frequency, the rhythm of the jazz band, it wouldn't be very good jazz or music or rock and roll. The same is for the body. You need sun, and you need sun or full spectrum light like I have in this room now, specifically in the middle of the day, because it defines the speed of what's going on in your body. It regulates your hormone production, your sleep cycle, eating, detoxing, digestion, sexual functions, physical functions, mood, and not least, the speed of what's going on in the cells. So we have something called ATPase, the ATP to ADP conversion, energy conversion in the cells, and it spins thousands of times per second. And we make thousands of cells in the blood per second. And all this has to be synchronized and done in the correct sequence. So you cannot spin a thing before you made the thing, for example. And this is regulated by light. So if you sit in incorrect light, you don't get full spectrum natural sunlight, or you can get it from a light source or from the sun outside. The body will not perform its operations very well synchronized. So this is just one example that we're totally depending on good rhythm, good frequency, good vibrations around us, and that we should seek to follow the natural flows and vibrations of our body and nature. And of course, this can add that in the morning, there's a lot of red light. It has specific frequencies of light, influence you, it charges you, it balances you, it energizes you through, among other things, proteins in the cell called cytochrome oxidase, which are actually capable of receiving light and transferring it to electrons to electric energy in the cell to charge you. So this is the way, that's one of the reasons you feel well in the sun, outside in the late in the summer. People have more energy, less disease, more balance, feel more happy, because you are charged. You have more light and energy in the body. Also, we know for sure that emotions are not something you have out there. Emotions you have in the body. And your electric system can store these emotions. So we know also from research that different frequencies, among them frequency in the infrared and the heat, is more present in different parts of the body depending on your mood and your emotions. And we also know that I learned this, by the way, from Dr. Jerry Tennant first time. He wrote this excellent book I recommend for everybody who wants to be know something about it. It's called Healing is Voltage. Healing is Voltage. Our organ systems, such as the kidneys, are influenced strongly by stress, anxiety, and things like sexual abuse, etc. And if you have some sort of a trauma, there will be a pattern, wave pattern, as working like a block in the body. So electromagnetic wave pattern. And so you change the electric properties of organs and organ systems. And if you don't know, all organs they are connected through electric wiring and so-called meridians and nerves and so forth. So these wires are connected all the way up here. So let's say, for example, here, there is a connection to the stomach going down through my nipple and down to the stomach. So if I worry a lot, and I often have low energy in the stomach area and the intestine, and if you have a tendency of sinuses, tight nose, it's very often related to the stomach energy. And one of the things that influences is worry. So we know also from research, and this is for sure, it's not theory, it's physical measurements, that all cells has a charge, like a 9-volt battery, a 12-volt battery, and so forth. And this charge we measure in millivolts. So our cells normally have, healthy cells normally have about 70 to 100 millivolt. Of course, it's a difference between a fat cell, a nerve cell, or a muscle cell, or so on. And if this charge starts to drop, the first thing that normally happens is that you feel some pain. So if you have pain, you have too little charge. And you have to think, why do I have too little charge? What can I do to charge the body and the area? If you have very low charge, a lot of bacteria and virus and so forth will start to be thriving in that terrain because it's acidic, it's not the normal terrain. So what likes to be in such terrain will grow there. And if the charge is very low, the cell cannot perform normal metabolism or normal energy production. And then it has to invent something new, which is not new. It's called cancer. So when the charge is very low, the cells cannot take in oxygen and produce enough energy to rebuild and build cells in a normal way. So it starts to ferment, just like wine. This was also discovered by Otto Warburg around 1900s. And now everybody in high science, which are really looking into the metabolism of cancers, they now see these things, and it's now being stated as a fact. Cancer is not a DNA or DNA mutation. Cancer is a metabolic disease. So if we can keep our potential up through lifestyle and all other methods, it's very hard to develop cancer. But if your voltage is very low over a very long time, you can develop cancer. So we want to try to avoid that. Yeah, so here we see different cell types having different voltage. And you can see there the cell membrane. We have the plus and the minus on the outside, simplified. And you can measure it with a voltmeter, which they do. You can also say there are something called volt-regulated channels. And that's again, the regulation of the cell is depending on the electric charge. So if there is little battery power, you cannot take in enough oxygen, minerals, food to the cell. You cannot detox properly. So this is the basic foundation of health. The most critical one factor of all is voltage. And that they should implement in the conventional medicine. And it's being done now, but in the hospitals in Europe and Norway, at least, they don't think this way yet. Here's from research from 14 countries, a lot of researchers where they measured cells with different electric charge, different potential. And you can see on the right side is the non-tumor cells or the normal cells, and the left side we have tumor cells. And actually, there should be, okay, so we miss a little bit on the left side here, but that doesn't matter. But the interesting thing is to see if you see when we are being, when we're making children and the embryo is constructed, we need to divide the cells often to grow. So this is controlled by the current, by the charge. If we go in, look on the other side, you see the tumors. They also have low electricity, low charge, because if they didn't, they couldn't divide. And you can see that the liver here, where they measured it, does have not very high charge. It's about 40, minus 40 millivolts. And you can think about it, why that? Yeah, because we get a lot of toxins accumulating, and toxins normally have the positive charge. It's oxidants. So it's stealing electrons. So the liver normally has a lot to deal with a lot of toxins, and therefore the liver cells are probably not so high charged. And then you see the neurons, the nerval, and the muscles and so forth have higher charge, which is normal. So again, this is a proof, direct proof, that electric charge is critical for the behavior and the health of the cell. And if you don't have the correct charge, you can even develop serious diseases like cancer. So, cell voltage, and thereby the light of your cell, is a very good indicator of health, and from my perspective, the most important. It also defines the pH balance, mineral balance, because if you have the correct charge, you will take in the correct minerals, and you will have the correct minerals or electrolytes, because if you split the mineral, let's say you have natrium chloride, which is salt, you get it into water, you split it in natrium and chloride, and they have opposite charge, plus and minus. So if the cell has the correct voltage, you will have the correct pH, you will have correct mineral balance, you will have correct fluid and water balance, because water also has charge, and water cannot be charged properly if you don't. If the cell is full of water with low charge, your cell has low charge, simply said. And you cannot detoxify and get rid of things properly if you don't have energy to push it out. And to produce energy in the cell, you need oxygen. So if you have the right charge, the volt-regulated channels open and a lot of oxygen come in. And this goes also for the blood cells, the red blood cells. So we know that something called setup potential. So if the blood cells are here and they have a, let's say, very low charge, they can go together and stick. But if they have high charge, it's minus plus minus, and they will not stick. That means the blood will flow well in the body and oxygenate you. That's called setup potential. And when you see low electric potential, it means high amount of oxidants, and you will get Rayleigh effects, which is called like blood cell clumping, like a stack of coins. So again, when you do a therapy, successful therapy, increasing the voltage of the body and the blood, the oxygenation will be better, the cells will be more apart, and you will feel more energetic and happy. And if you have the right voltage, you will have a natural energy conversion in the cells. And very important, the cells are capable of communicating well with the cells around and your immune system. So think about the cancer cell, the unhappy cell with too little voltage. It cannot really communicate well with the system around. And sometimes the body are not aware of it because it cannot sing out loud. It has a very low potential and doesn't sing loud in the normal spectrum for the body to listen to. So what is stealing your voltage? There's a lot of things stealing your voltage. These things here you can be aware of. So if you have a scar, let's say I have a scar here, and there is voltage going up to my brain here from, let's say, the digestive channel. When the electric current hits the scar, it has different conductivity and different resistance. So it will try to go outside and go up here. And maybe I have a problem right here. And that could be caused by a scar. A scar can also be an emotional scar. So if you have a pattern of an electric field blocking something in the organ or in a pathway in the body, this can also block the flow of electricity and limit your voltage, steal your voltage, because the body has to work hard, use more energy, more battery power to to get things done when there is resistance, when there is block in the channel. If you have an infection in the tooth, and this occurs always if you have a root canal. A root canal is by definition infection without the root, because there is no oxygen, there is no nerve connections, but there is dead material inside the tooth, and it will start to, some bad bacteria will, bacteria that lives without oxygen will start to develop. And this bacteria will make enzymes, and those enzymes will look for food, and the food is you. So it wants to make an infection somewhere, and it can go out in the blood, go to the thyroid, to the heart, and it can occupy almost 70% of your immune system. So I've seen many times people have, for example, a root canal here, an old root canal, because in the beginning it's not that toxic, but it will be later, and they have a digestive problem or a shoulder pain. I ask them to remove it, clean it out, and they do. And sometimes it happens, they come back and say, you know what, I had a shoulder pain for 14 years, it's gone. Dr. Chennant himself, who wrote this, Healing His Voltage, he was sick for 7 years, couldn't find anything. He started to study electromedical devices, electromedicine, natural medicine, and so forth, because he was a conventional doctor. And when he pulled out his tooth and cleaned out his jaw for an infection, after 1 week, he was back to work. 1 week. 48 hours, the blood started to change. So it's extremely important to check this out. So if you have a chronic issue and you have an electron stealer, somebody is stealing your voltage in the jaw, you need to clean it out with a holistic dental practitioner. Also, I mentioned traumas, it blocks, and then you can have blocks if you have the spine is not flexible and the spine is blocked, you have a spine issue. The cranial sacral pump, which is liquid going up and down the spine and also circulating your brain, it doesn't move. And when there is less movement, there is less generation of power. And of course, you don't feel well when you're not circulating well. So this steals energy. So if there is blocks in the spine, block in your neck and so forth, it's a very good thing to fix it. And of course, if you lack the building blocks, if you want to have a good cell, it's like building concrete wall. You need sand, water, and concrete. And same thing for the cell, but more components is needed. So if you don't have the necessary building blocks, and if you don't eat proper fat, your cell membrane cannot isolate very well on the inside, outside, and then the potential will be lower. And that means you have less power, less electricity, less light, less life, less energy. And of course, maybe it should be on the top, but if you drink too little water, dirty water, dead water, low energy shit water, that doesn't help you. Because remember, 99% of the molecules in your body are water. So you need to have clean water. Would you wash your car in Coca-Cola or coffee? No, you would wash it in clean water. So are you going to wash and nourish your body with clean, good water? Yes. And of course, many of you are aware that clean water with hydrogen gas is a very good, it's very good water. And the hydrogen will make the water have a negative charge, so a battery charge. So instead of the toxic water and the dead water from your tap, your body needs to use energy to make it into energy-rich water. You can drink energy-rich water, which will help you reduce oxidants and increase the voltage. Air pollution, of course, and if you sit inside with the air conditioner or in a plane, the air circulates and in the channels, and you have a lot of positive ions. And that makes you tired and less oxygenated, steals your voltage. Just like when a lot of people, like me, we wake up in the morning, we feel more tired. Actually, I did today because it's raining outside, low pressure, there is more positive ions in the air. So if we can be outside, in the woods, close to waterfalls, close to sea, in nature, there's more negative ions. You can also have small devices at home producing negative ions, so that gives you more charge. And then, of course, maybe 70, 80% of all unbalance, or some people call it disease. I don't think about disease. I think about unbalance or not balance, are caused by stress. Because when you're stressed, your body don't regenerate and build new cells as well. Your liver and kidneys don't detox properly because you get the energy to the muscle and brain to fight the lion. And you don't need to digest food, because if somebody's going to kill you, you don't think about eating. That's the natural way of thinking. So every time you're stressed, you stop your or reduce your detoxification functions. You reduce the functions to digest food. And of course, if you can avoid stress, that's great. But everybody has some stress in life, but it's how you handle it. And of course, stress can be anything. It can be from pain, can be having too much work. It can be from too much Wi-Fi. It can be from bad water. It can be from traumas, emotions, but it has all the same effects on the body. And the good thing with the Healy is that the typical deep cycle programs all have a stress reduction, stress balancing effect. So we will talk more about going through the deep cycles in the next webinar. And of course, toxins, they all have, most of the toxins have a positive charge, are oxidants stealing energy molecules. So if you have a lot of stealing energy molecules in your body, you have low energy. And then you have a man-made radiation, including bad lightning. So therefore, I use it in the evening. I have a special light glasses that takes away some of the incorrect blue lights from the screen and the lightning in the house, because it's not natural. And this also influences our clock and steals our energy. And of course, if you don't move, when I squeeze my muscles together, I squeeze the molecules of the muscles, and a lot of it is encapsulated in what we call fascia made of collagen. Collagen is sort of a gel, and inside the gel, there are crystals, piezoelectric crystals. It means when you squeeze them, you make electricity. So when you use your big muscles, you charge your organs, you make electricity. So if you never move, and now I have to move, I've been sitting still, you have less charge. And of course, if you never go outside, you're not touched by nature and being charged naturally in nature, you don't get the sun, the fresh air, the ions and all this, you need to provide more energy in some other way. But of course, I recommend everybody to use nature. So there are some takeaways here. So electric potential provides the ability to build and regenerate cells. So if you have the power, you can produce thousands and thousands of cells per second. Think about it. You rebuild your whole body all the time. So if you have the right intention, because your intention, emotions influence how you build, and the right energy, you will build a beautiful body, have a good life. So, and correct voltage is needed for the cells and the organs in the system to communicate well, both inside and around the world, with the world outside. Just like a mobile phone, if you don't have the power, you can't call anywhere. If you have the right energy and the body is capable of intracellular communication, you feel well. When you feel well in your body and you have the energy, your mood is often better. So, of course, energy is directly related to how you feel. And if you are able, through treatments and lifestyle, to release the blocks of your emotions, and you are in an electromagnetic balance, you are also in emotional balance. And I say this 100% sure. I've seen it through 13 years of working in the clinic, and I can measure it. So one of the things people tell me when I treat them with frequency, is very often, I remember a woman with a very serious condition some years ago, and we started treating her, and she came back to me after a month or so, and she said, you know what's the first thing I noticed about the treatment? I'm not afraid anymore. I feel more balanced. So the electric system of your body and your emotions are very close connected. Thank you. That was my foundation webinar on electromagnetism, health, and so on. Thank you.